Well, today is September 19th, and the global strategic situation is definitely becoming more alarming and intense by the moment. I did discuss briefly the fact that there was a second assassination attempt on former president and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. Uh, that occurred down in Florida. Ryan Routh, the guy's name is, who had dealings with the Azov battalion. And as I said in my July 1st warning, uh, I thought that Trump's life was in danger because he has called for an end to the Russia Ukraine proxy conflict. So we will get to that because that danger is really escalating. We had a maybe only temporary reprieve with Biden due to supposedly a back channel call from Russia to the Department of Defense telling the British Prime Minister Starmer that no, the US will not go along with Ukraine using long range missiles to strike deep into Russia. But Jens Stoltenberg and all kinds of other people are urging that this go ahead. But first, I'm going to talk about the call that we had on Monday night. Jose Vega and myself have a regular candidates meeting on Monday nights at 8:30. You can sign up for that at sareforsenate.com. This particular Monday, we had the honor of being joined by both Colonel Richard Black, former Judge Advocate General, decorated Marine soldier in Vietnam and former state senator, and Dr. Mark Perlmutter, who I believe is the head of the World Association of Surgeons, something like that, a very established Jewish American doctor who gave an absolutely gut-wrenching report. I asked him to send me the letter that he and 44 other physicians sent to members of Congress who basically would not give them the time of day. I think this is absolutely disgusting. This is why I am running for US Senate. This is why Jose Vega is running against Richie Torres. I'm just going to share with you a little bit from this letter, and you'll see why it's so outrageous. And I could read you the names of some of the medical doctors. These are not political activists. These are not people with an agenda. These are people who've devoted their lives to caring for people and were horrified by what they saw. So here is the opening page of the letter that was delivered to every single member of the House and Senate. You see the date up here, July 25th, 2024. RE American Physicians and Nurses, Observations from the Gaza Strip since October 7th, 2023. Quote, I've never seen such horrific injuries on such a massive scale with so few resources. Our bombs are cutting down women and children by the thousands. Their mutilated bodies are a monument to cruelty. Dr. Feroz Sidhwa, who's a trauma and critical care surgeon. Quote, I saw so many stillbirths and maternal deaths that could have been easily prevented if the hospitals there had been functioning normally. Dr. Thalia Pakianakis, obstetrician and gynecologist. Quote, every day I saw babies die. They had been born healthy. Their mothers were so malnourished that they could not breastfeed, and we lacked formula or clean water to feed them, so they starved. Asma Taha, pediatric nurse practitioner, and from Dr. Perlmutter, his quote, Gaza was the first time I held a baby's brains in my hand, the first of many. And I'm going to skip to the next section, which I wanted to share with you. They write, the letter and the appendix show probative evidence that the human toll in Gaza is far higher than is understood in the United States. It's likely that the death toll from this conflict is already greater than 92,000. an astonishing 4.2% of Gaza's population. They say a ceasefire must be imposed on both Israel and Palestinian armed groups by withholding military support for Israel and supporting an international arms embargo on both Israel and all Palestinian armed groups. We believe our government is obligated to do this both under American law and international humanitarian law. They say, with only marginal exception, everyone in Gaza is sick, injured, or both. This includes every national aid worker, every international volunteer, and probably every Israeli hostage, every man, woman, and child. While working in Gaza, we saw widespread malnutrition in our patients and our Palestinian healthcare colleagues. Every one of us lost weight rapidly in Gaza despite having privileged access to food and having taken our own supplementary nutrient-dense food with us. We have photographic evidence of life-threatening malnutrition in our patients, especially children, that we are eager to share with you. Virtually every child under the age of 5 whom we encountered both inside and outside of the hospital had both a cough and watery diarrhea. And I will go on to the next section of this, enlarge it a bit so you can see it better. As we met our healthcare colleagues in Gaza, it was clear that they were malnourished and both physically and mentally devastated. We quickly learned that our Palestinian healthcare colleagues were among the most traumatized people in Gaza and perhaps in the entire world. Like virtually all people in Gaza, they had lost family members and their homes. Most lived in and around their hospitals with their surviving families in unimaginable conditions. Although they continued working a grueling schedule, they had not been paid since October 7th. All were acutely aware that their work as healthcare providers marked them as targets for Israel. This makes a mockery of the protected status hospitals and healthcare providers are granted under the oldest and most widely accepted provisions of international humanitarian law. I believe at one point, I'm not sure if it's here, he said that 1 out of 40 healthcare workers, I believe, has been killed, something like that. They say, we urge you to see that Israel has directly and deliberately targeted and devastated Gaza's entire healthcare system, that they have targeted our colleagues in Gaza for death, disappearance, and torture. These unconscionable acts are entirely at odds with American law, American values, and international humanitarian law. So a pretty devastating report. I find it outrageous that the members of Congress would not meet with these people. But it's not surprising. We know the sway that the Zionist lobby seems to have on our representative government. Now, on the other story, Ukraine, Russia, this is extremely concerning. The lunatics in the European Union, and I say that absolutely, I mean it. I mean what I am saying about these people in the European Union. Just look here at this. EU Parliament backs Ukraine plea to lift Western arms curbs. So they voted. It wasn't unanimous. It was 435 to 131 with 63 abstentions, something like that. But what does that mean? That means that the EU Parliament thinks it's perfectly fine. We shouldn't put any restrictions on Ukraine. They should be able to strike wherever in Russia they wish. Now, what is the Russian response to this? This leader of the Russian State Duma, Vyacheslav Volodin, says that Ukrainian strikes with Western missiles could lead to nuclear war. In other words, Putin has had it. The people of Russia have had it. They're not going to sit there and take it. So, as I have been saying, and I mean it, a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for nuclear war. We are absolutely on that trajectory. I hope we don't get there before the November 5th elections, but Biden has put a lot on destroying Russia as one of his goals as president of the United States. It is not happening. Ukraine has lost hundreds of thousands of lives. Their economy has been devastated. That's the price that you pay, apparently, for being an ally of the United States under this incarnation. So I would urge everybody in the state of New York and across the country absolutely not to vote for Kamala Harris under any circumstances. There is a reason why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. decided to suspend his campaign and collaborate with Donald Trump and hopefully work with Trump in a new administration, which is that he said we can't even afford to have a close election. That's the choice. I am not endorsing a presidential candidate. I am saying, however, that my future and yours probably depends in the very near term on ensuring that Kamala Harris and nothing that the Democratic National Committee would ever choose to replace her in the event that should become necessary can be elected to the White House.